San Jose takes Dallas the distance once again, but it's the Stars that prevail 3-2 in a shootout to become the first 4-0 team in the NHL. Let's break it all down next on Locked On Stars.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. The Dallas Stars remain unbeaten, and they go a perfect 3-0 on the homestand after a 3-2 win over the San Jose Sharks in a shootout. The Stars go perfect, clinical, and surgical in the breakaway challenge. First, Jason Robertson, then Matt Duchene, and then following it all up, it's Wyatt Johnston who rips one off the pipe as the Stars completely dominate Blackwood in the shootout competition. But Blackwood was spectacular in regulation, but the Stars once again find a way to win, and they are the first team to become 4-0 this season in the NHL. We're still awaiting a final between Calgary and Chicago, so Calgary could join them, but nonetheless, the Stars are a perfect 4-0, and that's all that matters. Let's break it all down in just a moment. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. I guess my first takeaway is Jason Robertson is just automatic in the shootout. He's 10 for 14 now in his career, and it's the same move every time, and it's just so deadly. He gets so close and in tight on the netminder, and he elevates it so quickly, and the goaltender just can't seem to make a save or know what to do when he's that in tight, and he just lifts it over the glove, and it just hits the mark bullseye every single time. And then Duchene with a great shootout move as well, just goes 5-hole to beat Blackwood. And then Wyatt Johnston, who was 0 for 3 before his attempt, just ripped it off the pipe and in. And the Stars are surgical in the breakaway challenge. So that's a good sign. But man, Jason Robertson is just so automatic. That was a big one to kick off the competition, and Ottinger made a couple of saves, and the Stars prevail once again, and it's a big 3-2 win. Look, I thought San Jose was going to be a good test and a good challenge, and it was. I said that on yesterday's episode multiple times because they're young, they're hungry, they're trying to establish themselves, and they still have some great players. So Foley, who's a guy that just seems to score every time he faces the Stars, starts the scoring in the second period as Dallas once again just sort of was feeling their way into the game. It's not a lack of urgency, but they just sort of walk into it a bit. They're not pressing enough, in my opinion. They just seem to sort of let the game play out. Even though it was a skating game, there wasn't a lot of whistles in that first period. I would like for Dallas to be the aggressor a bit more, and we did see that a lot more in the second period. That was a lot more of what we are hoping for from the Dallas Stars offensively. They outshot San Jose, so it's the first time they outshot an opponent this season, 38-27, and Blackwood was very, very good in the game. The Stars had a shot differential of -25 going in to tonight's game against San Jose. So it was good to see them back as the aggressor a bit more. There were still points throughout the game, though, when it feels like they can push and really, really put the pressure on San Jose to defend, and they couldn't quite stack shifts as much as they would have liked. But once again, they did enough, and they responded twice. That's probably another big takeaway. They hadn't trailed going into the game. They trailed twice tonight, and they responded rather quickly by finally starting to to dictate the play and get interior on San Jose's defense. And they got some bodies to the net and a great play to set up the first goal by Mason Marchment and Stankoven. As Stankoven, he's just making things happen. He's all over the place. He's forechecking, does a little pirouette, tries to feed it off to Marchment. It ricochets off a skate, and then Duchene just cuts to the net, and Marchment puts it on a platter. He has 5 points to begin this season. He's been so good. Ty Dellandrea gets a goal against his former club off a failed breakaway opportunity at first by Sturm. Dellandrea follows it up, and he's able to bury it. But then Rope responds just a few minutes later. A great tic-tac-toe with that top line of Robertson, Johnston, and Rope Hintz, who just wired a one-timer home, and he tied the game at 2. And all the scoring happened in the second period. The third period was a wash, even though Dallas continued to push. And their 5-on-5 play was much, much better tonight. And you would expect that against a young San Jose side. You look at the scoring chances at 5-on-5. Dallas finished with 30 against the Sharks 24, and 16 of those came in that second period. They were really on it, trying to stretch the ice as we've been accustomed to seeing in the second period to begin this season. And the Stars get the job done. They get it done. And San Jose was a great test. But I think just the veteran savviness of the Stars and the experience was the difference in this one tonight, right? They just kind of continued to play, and yeah, they had a few mistakes. Robertson with a bad turnover at the blue line. I mean, the 2 goals they gave up were turnovers at the attacking blue line. Robertson flipped a backhand pass that was intercepted, and then Toffoli buries it. And then Jamie Benn and Miro had just an awkward connection at the blue line, and it ends up with a Sturm breakaway that Ottinger got caught sprawling a bit, and then Dellandrea was able to poke it over his pads and in the back of the net. So there wasn't a whole lot of defensive breakdown. I don't think there was really one that I can point to, but besides, I mean, the rush was the issue for Dallas tonight. That's where they got burned, was off the rush. In terms of their 5-on-5 defense in their defensive posture, they were excellent once again. Their PK is just superb. I mean, it's been surgical really since opening night against Nashville. They've been perfect. They had to kill off a 5-on-3 early in the third period. I mean, it was one of the best kills I've ever seen. I don't know if San Jose even got a shot opportunity, or let alone hit the net. I think they may have had 2, and they missed the net a few times, but Johnston, Lyubushkin, and Lindell got a couple of big clearances, and that was huge to just keep the momentum rolling, right? When San Jose had a chance to really take a stranglehold on the game with that 5-on-3, the Stars would just give up nothing, and they were 3 for 3 on the kill. They had another kill they had to deal with late in the third, and they were brilliant. Lyubushkin and Lindell have been excellent down a man. They are sort of the Lindell Hakanpää from a season ago, and they are fabulous. Lyubushkin has been, I mean, he's been my biggest surprise, I think, out of the first 4 games of the season. He's just been so steady when Dallas is sort of still experimenting and I think finding themselves in a lot of areas in their game, because there's a lot of new faces and trying to learn a new system and how to defend within that. And I think he stepped in and he's done a really, really nice job. Lindell played a minute 49 at 5-on-4, or 4-on-5, I should say. Harley was busy on the PK as well. But, I mean, just a really, really solid effort from Dallas. If Blackwood doesn't have the night he does, maybe Dallas gets a couple of more and it's not as close. But San Jose continued to push. Ottinger was great again. He was tested real early in that first period. The Sharks had a couple of great looks as Dallas got off to kind of a slow start again. As I kind of mentioned off the hop of this episode, they just sort of teeter their way into games and kind of dip their toe in, and instead of just jumping on the attack, especially against this young squad. But a 3-2 win in a shootout, you pick up 2 points. Look, it wasn't their best game yet, wasn't the most complete 60. Probably the best game to date. And I know they didn't shut him out, but I feel like if you take into account the full 60 minutes, I thought it was a pretty consistent effort for the most part. The fourth line continues to just establish a tone for this offense. I just feel like every time they're on the ice, you watch them and they spend 30 to 45 seconds in the offensive zone. Sometimes they create an opportunity and they just set up the next line for success. Blackwell had a really, really good game again tonight. Sam Steele continues to do Sam Steele things right. And I thought Duchene was the best player, though. Duchene was great. He was all over the map, physically, defensively. He's dangling in the offensive zone. He's creating scoring chances for himself, and he's making plays. I thought he had a really, really good game. That was good to see that he had some life in his legs, because Dallas seemed to be, I wouldn't say slow, but just a step behind at points. And maybe I'm looking at it through too critical of a lens, but there's just some points where it feels like they're just a step behind, kind of getting to some of those loose pucks, some of those battles. But Duchene was on top of it tonight. But I mean, the Stars go 3 for 3 in the shootout. Good to get a win past 60 minutes. We know about those struggles over the past few seasons, even though they kind of cleaned it up last year. So it's a big win against a hungry team, a young team early, and you get out of Dodge. You take a full 2 points. You go 3-0 on a homestand. What more could you ask for? The goaltending continues to be great. You still are finding yourself defensively. Nice to see Maverick Bourque as well. Not a ton to report in his season debut. I wish we could come on here and really pump his tires. But, made a few nice plays here and there. But I guess that's a good thing as well. He didn't jump off the TV screen for anything negative either. He had his moments, creating some plays. I mean, Stanko, my eyes just draw to him every time he's on the ice, and he's buzzing around and trying to make things happen. But the Stars are victorious as they prevail against the San Jose Sharks, who are just going to be a thorn in the side, I guess, of Dallas. They push him past 60 minutes again, and they trailed a couple of times. But again, they respond quickly, and that's a good characteristic to have. That's good to have, and not surprising too from a group that has as much experience as they do. They're not worried about trailing by 1 or even 2 goals. They just have too much savviness in their game to panic, right? And there's no panic on that bench. They just go about their business. And I think that's my overarching takeaway maybe as well. It's just, they just seem to go about their business, right? And like, they weren't too worried about, the trends and the momentum and the swings of the game. It didn't seem to bother them at all. And they come out with a win, right? They just kind of like, go here. We get back. Let's continue to push, see if we can grab the lead. Blackwood was excellent, made a huge breakaway save on Dodonov in that third period as well. They go past 60. Overtime looked good. They had some looks, but both sides really never ended up with grade A chances. Stars did get a power play in that OT frame as well for 43 seconds. They had a 4-on-3, but they couldn't win a faceoff, and San Jose got a couple of clearances, and Dallas wasn't able to muster up anything. And speaking of the power play, man, it has struggled out the gate. It has really struggled. There's been some moments here and there, but they continue to insist on doing the same sort of things that continue not to work. And there needs to be some adjustments at some point, because it can be rather infuriating to watch the same thing over and over again. Let's sort of dive into that and break down what I'm noticing on the power play to begin the season. And we'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets easier for your favorite live events. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats for your favorite live events without having to search through thousands of tickets. You can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. You want to go to a Stars game this season, you want to go to a Dallas Cowboys game, you want to go to a comedy, you want to go to theater, they have it on Game Time. So use Game Time Picks. It sorts out all the fluff. Instead of searching through thousands of tickets, Game Time takes all the guesswork out of getting tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKED, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Today's episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Go ahead and download Prize Picks. It is phenomenal. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You can bet on every single Stars game. Jason Robertson, more or less than 1 goal per game. Wyatt Johnston, more or less than 3.5 shots. Go ahead and hit the ground running with Prize Picks. It's free. It's available on your App Store or Google Play Store, and it is a ton of fun to get in on the action and feel a part of the action while you watch the game. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNHL for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even have to win, and you get $50 instantly. So download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. So the power play continues to leave much to be desired. And look, it's still really, really early, but they continue to do the same thing over and over against the Sharks tonight. And it continued to throw things awry. And one of the plays that has really jumped out to me is the Jamie Benn on the left wing side on entries. It just never worked from my recollection. They consistently across the line, Rope Hintz would come with speed, and feel like if he just holds on to the puck a bit longer and drives wide or chips and chases himself to get to a loose puck, the Stars can get in cleaner and set up. But he plays it off to Ben on that wall, and immediately 2 Sharks would collapse on him and strip him of the puck. And at that point, the Stars are relying on numbers and trying to win battles in order to get spread out and set up any sort of dangerous opportunities. For the most part, their dangerous looks have come off broken plays on just passes that go off a stick or a shot goes off a body and the Stars can get to it. But they haven't been able to get a shot away and then recollect and reload for another chance. It seems to be a lot of one and done. The second unit looks better. The second unit has looked better with Harley, Duchene, and Stankoven. And Stankoven's the main reason why, because on his entries, he drives in low, he button hooks, and it creates some space for himself and others to get spread out, and then they can go to work from there. They are struggling to get interior. A lot of shots are through bodies, and they continue to hit bodies. San Jose ended up with 19 blocked shots tonight. They made it hard on Dallas, especially on the power play. Robertson couldn't get free, Heiskanen as well. And I mentioned this in the other episode earlier this week. Dallas needs to start working, I think, a bit more from low to high than high to low, just because Miro and Robertson are pressured so high up the ice, they have to get rid of the puck. And then Dallas seems a bit stagnant in their setup, at least from my vantage point. But I think a large part of it is just the entries are really, really poor right now. And they need to use their speed and their skill to get in cleanly instead of putting what I would say Jamie Benn, and it's not his fault necessarily either. I just don't think they put Ben in a successful spot because he's flat-footed when he gets that pass from Rope across the line. There's nowhere for him to go. There's nowhere for him to go. And look, it's early. We're 4 games into this thing, and the Stars are 4-0. I don't want to come on here and just continue to beat a dead horse, but they are what 1 for 14 now, I think, on the season. It's played a factor, and if they can get the power play going, they can provide some insurance, and maybe you don't need overtime, or maybe you don't need a shootout here tonight against San Jose. But give the Sharks credit. They're perfect on the season. They've been flawless, and they were fantastic tonight. But those are just some of the things that I'm noticing that I think need to be worked on. Just to take a quick glance at the game scores. I love looking at these via hockey stat cards. Marchment grayed out the highest All-Star, 2.45 game score, a 1.49 expected goals for. And yeah, he had a really, really big game. The expected goals against for Blackwood, 4.39. 4.39. So he had a very quality game. In case you were wondering what type of shots he was dealing with on a daily basis, the Stars were giving him everything and then some. The minutes distribution, Harley played over 26. He played quite a bit in the 3-on-3 period, so he probably added a good minute there. Miro just under 25. Lindell over 23. He's been living over 23 here to begin the season. And then your next closest defenseman is Lyubushkin at 1646. And I noticed this trend after the game against Seattle on Sunday. Lindell, Harley, and Miro are the workhorses. They are taking up a lot of ice time. Lyubushkin under 17 tonight. Brendan Smith just played 11:34. Niels with at 16:25, and Niels has been great. He's another player that's been pretty good to begin the season, and I thought he had another good game tonight. He killed a couple of plays on the sidewall, defended a 2-on-1 great early in the game, and continues to be. I mean, he wins a lot of these physical battles. I've noticed against some bigger guys. His positioning and his body control and body positioning has been really, really strong to begin the season. But again, Lindell, Haskin, and Harley all over 23 minutes in the game. And your next closest was Lyubushkin at 16:46. And that's why the Dumba injury does affect the Stars back end. Dumba was going to play over 20 minutes a night, especially if he was going to play with Miro. By the way, since I haven't mentioned it yet, I don't want to forget, he is week to week. He does not require surgery, Matt Dumba. So that is some good news, but he is week to week. So he could be out for the foreseeable future. Good to see Maverick Bourque back as well. Let's switch into the defense a bit and what we saw out of Maverick Bourque in his debut, because I do want to touch on him before we get out of here as well, because it was our first chance to get to see him this season, and hopefully him and Stankoven could get that chemistry going like they had down in Cedar Park, and we'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. When you're on the couch watching football this coming Sunday, FanDuel is there for you to get in on the action and make some money this fall. We're in the heart of football season and the heart of hockey season now, and FanDuel is there for you. Download it. It's easy. It takes 30 seconds. It's on Google Play Store. It's on the App Store, and go ahead and get FanDuel and use $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. You don't even have to win. Put that first $5 bet out there and then get $200 in bonus bets with FanDuel. FanDuel.com. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Maverick Bourque made his debut this season here tonight against the San Jose Sharks. Does not come away with a point in the contest, but I mean, look, you see what he brings to the table, right? And there is a bit of that Stankoven esque play without the, I would say, the motor of Stankoven, but a smaller, craftier guy. He's really good on the walls. He forced a few turnovers in the game. I thought his board play was excellent in the game, and the Stars had some shifts where they were able to cycle. I think Jamie Benn's just been slow to begin the year. It seems like he's kind of easing his way into things. Hopefully he can start to find his legs, and I think that will do wonders for the line because, you know, Stankoven is making things happen, and Bourque's sort of the sidekick there. Jamie's just still trying to get engaged, and there's been parts of that in his game over the last few years. You feel like he's not trying, right? It's just because Ben's sort of nonchalant the way he goes about his business. And it can be frustrating to watch at points, but I think he's just trying to get worked up to game speed. And I think you could say that a lot for some of the Stars players like Johnston, who missed some time in camp. Robertson, of course, who missed all of camp. Bourque too. Like these guys, I think, are just trying to work up to game speed. And they're starting to get there. And we saw some really nice pace today. And I thought it was a good time for San Jose to come to town that wants to skate and use those fresh young legs. It forces Dallas to get into that sort of game. And they opened it up a bit, and they really controlled the play for the most part in this one tonight. You would like them to generate some bigger looks, and because there just seems to be some lulls, right? And that's what I mean by there hasn't been like a complete 60 minutes of just constant offense and just shift after shift, putting the opposition on their heels. And they're still building up to that, right? They're still building up to that. And that's what, I mean, look, again, I've said it almost every episode, but you're thrilled that the Stars are 4-0. And there's a lot of room for growth here. There's a lot of room for growth. But look, I mean, the additions they've made in the offseason right now have made an impact, and they've made a difference. Like Labushkin, he graded out very well today, 2.06. He was the second high star in the game. So that's not just anything, right? And Lundqvist, there seems to be a trust factor there, and they're not sheltering him. He's playing with Miro at times. He's playing with Lindell. There's a lot to like about his game to begin the season. And look, I know I came into the season with all these concerns, and I was worried about what we were going to see, but I mean, damn, they've been great. And they've thrown all the words right back into my mouth here. Because I think it's been really good. I mean, the team defense in general has been fine. Has been more than fine in a lot of ways. I mean, the 2 goals they gave up are, turnovers at the attacking blue line. It's not like they're getting ran roughshod in their own zone. And Otter, he's going to make those big saves. And that's the way the Stars have kind of gone about their business, and they've won a couple of ways now. Their special teams has been good. They get a shootout win here tonight. And they've gotten great goaltending, man. I mean, what more can you really ask for? They're just, They're a good team that doesn't have to be great all the time. I think that's what we're kind of seeing. They're a great team that doesn't have to be great to win games every night. And that's what good teams do, right? In the regular season, it's a slog. It's 82 games. And you just have to get through it. And they're doing that. That's just what we've come to expect. And to be fair, I think I probably have too high of expectations on what I'm looking for out of Dallas off the hop. And they just win. There's whatever. we're going to go out there and we're going to get the job done, and we're going to slog through it, and they're going to start to build to what they want to be, right? But they don't need to be that now in October. They certainly don't. So maybe I just need to lower the expectations a bit and to just take it for what it is. So they get the job done here tonight. What a win for the Stars over a San Jose team that takes them the distance once again. It was good to see Dellandrea. It's a revenge game for Delly. He gets a goal against Dallas. Seems like a lot of former Stars always got to find a way. But excellent night. A lot of solid performances all the way around once again for Dallas, and they win by a score of 3-2 in a shutout. And they now move on to Washington on Thursday night. Just a quick flight there before a Western Conference final rematch in just a few days against the Edmonton Oilers. So how about that? The Stars will head off to the nation's capital, and we'll get a date with Alex Ovechkin, and that should be a good one. Stars have been brilliant in the past in Washington. I'll have to break down some of those numbers, I think, on tomorrow's edition of Locked On Stars. But please comment. Let me know what you're noticing in the first 4 games of this season. It's the best start since 2020-21. They haven't started 5-0. This comes from Leah of the Dallas Morning News. Have not started 5-0 since 06-07. So they have a chance to do something very, very special here on Thursday. Anyways, yeah. Please comment, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Never miss an episode of Locked On Stars. And the Locked On Unbeaten Stars, the first 4-0 team in the NHL. Before we get out of here, let's check the Calgary score. I think they're in the third period now. Flames are up 2-1, so with under 5 to play. So it looks like possibly the Flames are going to move to 4-0 too. And who would have thought that off the hop? Who would have thought that? Edmonton's 0-3, Colorado's 0-3, and Nashville's 0-3. So my predictions are just absolute crap right off the hop. So, but that's okay. More importantly, the biggest prediction of them all is the Stars win the Stanley Cup, and they look good. Alrighty, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. We'll see you on Thursday to break down Stars Caps. So long, Stars fans.